Welcome, everybody, to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast. I'm Pete Wright, and I'm here with Mommy Warbucks, Nikki Kinzer. What?
What? That's a crazy name.
You know, it's my homage to Annie.
That's just weird.
I can picture a wealthy, the doyenne of Main Street, bald Nikki Kinzer as Annie's...
No, you're calling me bald?
No. We are talking about holiday spending this week on the ADHD podcast, and you have the whole idea here is if I may, is to provide some sort of structure for those of us who have trouble keeping a frame around the holiday vis-a-vis money. Is that right?
Yes, that's exactly it.
I very much look forward to that. I win. Yes, I just won the podcast.
You won the podcast prize. So then the question will be on January 8th, did you really win?
Well, yes, the first episode will be recovery from...
Yes. Did you actually pay attention?
Exactly. Well, I look forward to it. How do you start when you're working with clients? How do you start, helping to put a frame around a concept that can be sort of tricky, sensitive subject is money?
Well, it is a sensitive subject, and there's this thing called impulsivity.
I don't know what that is.
Impulsiveness. See, I can't even say it right. And it can really, what's that expression? Rear its head at Christmas time. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right? And you might have
because
the best intentions.
It hides in it hides underneath generosity.
Yes. Well, yes, it really does. That's a really good point because it's always for good reason and you can justify it really easily. But then January comes and then there's a lot of regret and sadness, right?
Yes.
Just pure sadness.
Totally.
When you look at the credit card bill. So that's why I decided to do this show because, I think it's important. I think that it's a good time because, some of you probably maybe have started your shopping but I would be willing to bet that most of you probably, have not and might be waiting. And so this just gives you some tangible things to think about, as you go into the shopping malls.
Yeesh.
To stop. To pause and to stop that impulsive buying. Yeah.
Yes, I think we could all use an opportunity to step back and reflect a little bit. What is step one?
Well, it's setting that budget, and I know that's a scary word for people because budget seems really big. And I'm not asking you to do a home budget because that is a big project. It scares me. But it's just to do something very simple, and that's just figuring out how much money you have, what you're willing to spend. Ideally what you would like to spend on the holidays. And you have to include gifts, of course, but also if you're planning on any, are you hosting any parties, any kind of additional costs that might come. Travel could be something that you have to think about. So really maybe, take a piece of paper out and just sort of brainstorm what are the things that I'm going to have to purchase this holiday season and how much money do I really have to do that with. And so that's also looking at your bank account, your savings account, and being realistic. Taking that a little bit a step further is writing down everybody that you plan on buying a gift for. I think this really helps, knowing who you have to buy for and how much money you want to spend. So you're kind of budgeting that way as well. And if you already have some ideas of what you want to get that person, I would, put that sort of to the side as well, because I think the more planning and preparation you can have before you actually go shopping, the better it is and the least likely you're going to do those impulse purchases.
So what do you do once you have this budget in your shopping list? How do you take that so that because it doesn't, the impulsivity doesn't really rear its head when you're planning. It rears its head at the cash register.
Shopping,
yeah.
when you're shopping.
So how do you translate all of this great intention into practical ways to stay cool-headed?
Yeah. So when you're out shopping, I've got a couple of different tips for you to do. You got to have your budget with you, right? So you're going to have your list and your budget with you. And so you're already going to know kind of what you have in mind when you're shopping, like what you're going to be doing when you're shopping, who you're buying for and all that. Bring cash. That's a great way of making sure you don't go over your budget. Leave your credit cards at home so you're not even tempted. And when the cash is gone, it's gone. And so it takes a little bit of planning and thought and time, right? Mm-hmm. Than just going shopping and buying whatever it is that you want or what you think somebody else would want. You do have to be a little bit more conscious and careful when you're out there. Now, in order to do this, bring a friend if that would help you, if you don't want to do it by yourself, and let them know what your plan is, and they can keep you accountable, right? I'm huge on accountability. So bring that friend, have them look at the list, let them know what you're doing, and they can kind of keep you accountable. They can also help you with, if you find something that you want to buy, they can start asking you questions about it, which you don't have when you're doing this by yourself, right? But what this does is it kind of instills that pause button that you need to have. It makes you stop and think, is this something that I truly want to do? Is it important? And how is this going to affect the rest of my budget? I mean, all these kinds of questions can kind of come up. And it just, again, it provides you that time to reflect and really make a good decision than to react and make a bad decision.
Oh, yeah, that's important.
The other tip kind of on top of that is if you want to take even more time to think about it, put the item on hold for 24 hours and then come back later. If it's truly important, you'll come back. Sometimes people just won't think it's worth the travel, or the time to go back in. And so that, again, can kind of tell you how important it really is. So those are some kind of just tangible things to do when you're actually shopping.
But then we have this idea about changing the way you think about what a gift could be.
Well, that's right. And we've talked about this in past kind of holiday episodes of really considering less expensive gifts. And I'm still such a believer of this. The gift of your time is priceless. I mean, and it's nothing to you as far as cost goes, but it's priceless to somebody else. And not that I'm saying that you don't think your time is value, but you know what I'm saying. But offer babysitting, offer yard work, house cleaning, grocery shopping. Maybe it's a meal that you plan and bring over for a night, so that the family doesn't have to worry about cooking. Whatever it is, those things are so generous and so appreciated, and they just don't happen often. Right? It's just not something that happens. And so it can be a really generous thing to do. Homemade gifts, baked goods, homemade projects from your kids, all of those things can be really meaningful and something that doesn't cost, a ton of money. And then you can still do things that are really thoughtful without spending a lot of money. And I like to kind of I like themed gifts. And so, for example, if I know somebody likes coffee, I might get them like a $10 or $5 gift card to a coffee shop with a little coffee cup, right? Mm-hmm. So you're not spending a lot of money. You're spending maybe $15 at the most, but it's just a nice little gift of giving them something that they like. You can do the same thing with like somebody who loves to bake. Maybe get them a new mitt and a spoon, and wrap it up in a nice bow or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do that are just not that expensive, but still really thoughtful and can make a huge, difference to somebody.
Go make a meal for a family friend. I really like that idea. Go over there and treat somebody to a really nice meal in their own kitchen.
Absolutely. And then do the cleanup.
And do all the work.
Don't just leave it there. Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, it's just such a nice thing to do. My last tip is really just sort of putting everything together, and that's just being really mindful. This is going to take a conscious effort on your part. You're going to have to pay attention. And that's why it's really helpful if you have a friend with you and you set up some of these things at the beginning, because you're really going to have to sort of go into it very intentional. And that's going to help you be able to put that pause button in front of you and not be so impulsive. But it does take work. It takes some conscious thinking of making that happen, because, most likely if you don't do these things, you're not going to think about it, and you're going to see something and you're going to see something else. And all of a sudden you have 10 gifts for your kids and you only meant to buy 2.
Well, that's specifically, we didn't talk specifically about this, but specifically kids. That's where, for us at least, it if it's going to balloon out of control, and we've been really pretty good since you and I started doing holiday episodes, I should say.
Yes.
We've been really pretty good about keeping the wraps on that, and most of it starts with planning early. When things get out of control, it's because we didn't get to the planning of the shopping until a couple of days before Christmas, and then things just go bananas. Because the rush gets added to the impulsivity, and that time pressure just allows you to make decisions that you would not normally make. But for us, if we get finished early, if we make our list, if we get everything done, and there's a finish to the shopping, it's when shopping becomes not a race to Christmas, but a point when we've checked off everything on the list 2 weeks early. Then we just feel naturally so much better about it, and we can start
and you'll be relaxed, which is your whole goal here.
Exactly.
For the rest of my life. Is to be relaxed. One point that I want to make, my biggest downfall is not planning what I want to buy for the kids. So if I don't have a specific list, like, if I'm not looking for something specifically, that's where I get into trouble. Because then I'm just like, oh, she'll like that. Oh, he'll like that. Oh, that looks interesting. But if they actually tell me, like, this is what I want, or this is what we've agreed, my husband and I, this is what we've agreed to get them, then it's just so much more clear. It's like, okay, I'm going to the store, I'm buying this one item, and I'm done. Versus really just like, wandering around. It's that's like, that is my biggest, that's my biggest downfall. I can't do that because I will I will somehow justify it. So I have to have that plan of sticking to my list.
Well, these are some really good tips, and I am feeling relaxed just thinking about it.
Yay.
Yes.
Then my job is done here.
Your job is done. For everybody else listening to the show, you should head over to Take Control ADHD, and there you can find out lots of good information. You can subscribe to this podcast, but most importantly, you can sign up for group coaching. If you've ever considered getting some individual support with your ADHD challenges, now is the time. Group coaching, very small group coaching, direct group coaching with Nikki is open until December 29th. This is our open enrollment period. So sign up before it's gone, before all the spaces are filled. And so you can really start your 2015 right.
That's right.
That's right.
Relaxed.
Yes. Have support. Have support from the group.
That will be our goal at the end of each group coaching session. Are we relaxed? Do we feel better about this? Pete Wright wants to know.
That's my message to the world. Relax, people.
That's right.
This has been a great session. Take these tips to heart and see how they work for you in your own holiday planning process. Thank you, Nikki, as always.
Absolutely, Pete. Thank you.
That's wonderful. On behalf of Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright, and we'll catch you next week on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast.